Imagine a really beautiful place where green mountains meet the blue ocean, a place with lots of islands in a big harbor, and beaches with golden sand. This is Guanabara Bay, where the story of Rio de Janeiro begins. Long ago, before Europeans arrived, indigenous tribes lived in this tropical paradise. The Tupi people, who were great fishermen and hunters, lived here for many years. They knew the bay very well, and their lives followed the rhythm of nature. In 1502, Portuguese explorers led by Goncalo Coelho sailed into Guanabara Bay. They loved how beautiful it was and thought they found a big river. They named it Rio de Janeiro, which means River of January, because that's when they arrived. They didn't know it was a bay, not a river, but the name stayed. And that's how the story of Rio de Janeiro, a city meant for great things, began. For the first 50 years of the 1500s, the Portuguese didn't pay much attention to their new river. They were busy making settlements further north, where they grew sugarcane to get rich. But this would soon change. In 1555, French Huguenots who wanted to escape religious problems in Europe came to Guanabara Bay. Led by Nicolas Durand de Villegagnon, they started a colony on an island and called it France Antarctique. The Portuguese didn't like the French being in what they thought was their land, so they did something about it. In 1565, Estácio de Sá, a Portuguese soldier, led a group to fight the French. After 2 years of fighting, the Portuguese won. To make sure they kept control of the bay, Estácio de Sá started the city of São Sebastião do Rio de Janeiro on March 1, 1565. They built it at the bottom of Sugarloaf Mountain, a good spot to protect the bay. Now that the French were gone, Rio de Janeiro started to grow. Its location on the ocean made it an important stop for ships traveling between Portugal, Africa, and Asia. But sugar really helped the city grow at first. Big sugarcane farms popped up around Rio. Sugar was worth a lot of money in Europe, and Rio became a big center for making and shipping it. The city got richer and people came from all over. Then, at the end of the 1600s, gold was found nearby in Minas Gerais. This made Rio even richer, as it became the main port for sending the gold to Europe. This made Rio de Janeiro change a lot. Big churches and convents were built, and fancy houses lined the streets, showing off how rich the city was becoming. Rio was becoming a big, exciting colonial city. In 1807, Napoleon Bonaparte's armies were taking over Europe, and Portugal was in danger. The Portuguese royal family decided to escape to Brazil, their biggest and richest colony. On November 29, 1808, Portuguese ships, protected by British ships, arrived in Rio de Janeiro with Dom João VI, the Prince Regent of Portugal, and everyone in his court. This was a very important moment for Brazil. Rio de Janeiro wasn't ready for the royal family and the more than 10,000 people who came with them. The city didn't have enough houses or other things they needed, but Dom João VI, a smart ruler, started to make Rio a good capital city. He created government offices, opened the city to trade with other countries, and started the Royal Printing Office, which made the first newspaper in Brazil. He also started schools, libraries, and science centers, which helped Brazil grow smarter. Dom João VI coming to Rio de Janeiro changed Brazil a lot. It made Brazil more important, but it also started the idea of independence. In 1821, Dom João went back to Portugal, leaving his son Dom Pedro in charge of Brazil. The next year, because people wanted independence, Dom Pedro declared Brazil a free country and became its emperor. Rio de Janeiro stayed the capital city. Sugar wasn't as important anymore, but coffee became the new big thing. The hills around Rio were perfect for growing coffee, and soon there were coffee farms everywhere. Coffee made Brazil very rich, and Rio de Janeiro became even more important as its main port. The city grew and became more modern, with new roads, railroads, and other things for the people. Dom Pedro II, Brazil's second and last emperor, ruled during a mostly peaceful time. He ended slavery in 1888, making Brazil the last country in the Americas to do so. But this made some rich landowners angry, and they stopped supporting him. In 1889, Dom Pedro II was removed from power, and Brazil became a republic. Rio de Janeiro stayed the capital, and the city changed a lot. Many people moved there from Europe and other parts of Brazil. New neighborhoods were built, and the city grew bigger. In the early 1900s, Rio was redesigned, with wide streets and fancy buildings like in Paris. Rio de Janeiro is a city full of music and dancing. It's where samba, Brazil's most famous music, was born, and it's home to Carnival, the world's biggest party. Samba started in the late 1800s with the Afro-Brazilian communities in Rio. It's exciting music with special rhythms, call and response singing, and lots of drums. Carnival, a big party before Lent, started in Europe but changed in Rio, mixing with the energy of samba. It's a time for fun with lots of color, music, and dancing. Samba and Carnival are more than just entertainment. They show what it means to be Brazilian, with its mix of cultures, African roots, and happy spirit. Rio de Janeiro has amazing natural beauty and famous landmarks that people all over the world know. High above the city is Christ the Redeemer, a giant statue of Jesus on Corcovado Mountain. Finished in 1931, it's one of the new 7 wonders of the world, with its arms open wide over the city. Sugarloaf Mountain, a big rock at the entrance to Guanabara Bay, is another famous landmark. You can take a cable car to the top for amazing views of the city, the bay, and the mountains. Copacabana Beach, a long, beautiful beach, is one of the most famous beaches in the world. It's a place to see and be seen, where people from Rio and tourists enjoy the sun, play volleyball, and have fun. All these landmarks make Rio de Janeiro a very popular city. Today, Rio de Janeiro is a city of differences, where beautiful places and exciting culture are next to poverty and problems. It has challenges, but it also has a strong spirit and a special charm. People still love Rio's natural beauty. Its beaches, mountains, and forests are great for outdoor activities, and its museums and theaters show Brazil's rich history. The people of Rio, the Cariocas, are warm and friendly, and they love life even when things are hard. They give Rio its special energy. Rio de Janeiro may be a city of differences, but it's a city that you won't forget. It's exciting and beautiful, and you'll remember it long after you leave.